Extraordinary team. Obviously, they're very experienced in disaster management and crisis management, as are you. So thank you to Pat Ryan, who you'll be hearing from momentarily. Jackie Bray, the Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. Again, another superhero who's been dealing with everything over this last year, from Ida 1 year ago, a hurricane I'll be mentioning in a couple minutes.
To receive the check in August or September, they must have filed a tax return or applied for a property, rent, or heat credit rebate by June 30th. Billions of dollars that Congress has approved already has not been spent yet and has not been given to the American people. The first batch of massive $3,200 direct payments are set to go out to eligible residents next month. Eligible residents of Johnson County, Iowa, who did not receive a check from the county's Direct Assistance Program are expected to get one soon. Some applications who were left out of the initial batch of checks for the county's Direct Assistance Program, despite being eligible, are slated to get a $1,400 payment after local officials reached an agreement. Iowa City Mayor Bruce told reporters the funds that we're spending are the City of Iowa City's funds. We're going to do it at this point because we know the needs and we are willing to do what we can to meet the needs of the people. So far, over 1,000 residents have received their checks. The program's cost is currently $3.1 million. Iowa City lawmakers and Johnson County officials have been at odds over how to finance the outstanding checks, but the city's ultimately agreed to foot $446,000, adding to the $600,000 that it had spent on the program thus far. The city will assist in administering the checks alongside the county. According to a report, other federal funding for the program came from federal, county, and city funds. The payments are intended for lower-income residents who could prove that there were many negatively affected by the crisis. Many residents who did not receive crisis relief funding were reportedly included in the program. The first batch of $3,200 direct payments are also sent out to eligible taxpayer residents this year. Earlier this year, the Alaska legislature approved a budget that includes payments of $3,200 to eligible residents by the end of the year. The first round of direct payments are set to start hitting bank accounts September 20th. Paper checks will then be sent out in October, and the Alaska State Senate had greenlit a $5,000 payout, but that measure failed in the State House. Negotiations between the two chambers saw a $4,000 compromise, but that got turned down by several lawmakers, resulting in a $3,200 figure. Proponents of a higher payment point to inflation, surging energy costs, and other woes eating away at the wallets of everyday Americans. Governor Mike Dunleavy signed the measure into law as part of the state's budget in June. The budget was among the largest in state history. Dunleavy said the budget is more than a spending plan, it's a blueprint for Alaska's future. And also, the situation for stimulus checks in the state of Massachusetts is still unclear, as legislation to approve $250 one-time payments recently failed to pass. A decision on whether the state will be able to issue tax credits will be made by the state auditor by September 20th, and if it's implemented, the payments will be issued before the end of the month. Meanwhile, residents are getting the state's excess in tax revenue that by an obscure 1980s law, Massachusetts has to return to taxpayers, which this year will be over $2.5 billion. Governor Charlie Baker said that residents will receive a 7% refund of their 2021 state income tax payment.
Before I take questions, let me also thank the members of the Chicago Fire Department, led by Commissioner Annette Nance Holt. I want to particularly highlight the paramedics and the EMTs who were on site last night rendering medical treatment and made sure that the folks that arrived were examined and those that were in need were taken care of. Now I'm happy to take your questions.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. Members of the media, Ash and I will bring down the mic as always. We'll kick it off with Mariano Gilis. 2 questions per reporters. On topic, please.
Mayor, I'm sure you visited the families and the individuals this morning. How was their first night in Chicago? How are they doing today?
I haven't seen them yet today, but I did see them last night. And I have to say, I was heartened by how remarkable they were. They were in good spirits, obviously nervous and had a lot of concerns. But you know what I think it showed was their incredible determination and resilience. So I was overwhelmed with emotion when I had time to spend with them because they were just remarkably resilient.
I'm sure services are not unlimited. I'm wondering how much longer can the city, maybe the state, help these people? And are you worried that maybe more immigrants are coming this way from states like Texas, for example?
Well, if we take Governor Abbott's threats, and that's what I regard them as, seriously, I would expect that we will see more.
So will you be receiving a stimulus check this month? I know that's the question that many of you want to be answered. Listen to this. you are eligible to receive more stimulus checks from a new federal program. This is really great because it's going to help so many people that are financially struggling due to the crisis. So remember folks, on this channel, I always do my very best in providing you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check and Social Security news. So it really means a lot to me if you could subscribe to the channel.
An executive order to ensure that the federal government puts you, the American people, at the front of the line and for first in everything we do. I'm directing 17 agencies here to focus on more than 30 key areas to make it easier to apply for services and benefits that they're entitled to, they paid for, theirs, their government.
Now back to the breaking news folks, the Restaurant Meals program also covers people with disabilities and people experiencing homelessness. The program is most widely available in California and Arizona. But some really good news is that many states across the country are beginning to have this program available. States like Maryland and Illinois are starting up their operations for this relief program right now, which is really good to know. It can be very difficult right now to buy groceries, especially with prices rising very quickly. Sadly, the inflation rates are hiking up, and that's a key measure of inflation climbed to a level not seen since June of 1982, and that's absolutely ridiculous.
Once again, those at the very top get the biggest breaks, and what do we have to show for it? Even our Republican friends are now beginning to admit there's no evidence these tax cuts are being put to work in the economy. No new growth, just more debt. And that puts middle-class programs that they rely on and they've worked for at real risk.
Folks, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has also reported that consumer price inflation rose by 6.8% without seasonal adjustments over the past 12 months. So it is extremely important that Congress continues to provide the American people with more stimulus money through relief programs. Do you believe that President Biden can send out the fourth stimulus check, folks? Tell me in the comments below.
Some money. We got your $480 million last year, the first increase for the administration of Social Security in many, many years. Because we know that in Vermont or in Oregon and all over this country, when people are walking into or calling up Social Security offices, they're not getting the kind of response that they need because of lack of staffing.
Now, nutrition experts and advocates also say that the Restaurant Meals program has seen a very sudden growth, and people that are not on Social Security are receiving these stimulus checks. Now, this is in thanks to a larger push to expand access to the SNAP program. Advocates and Americans are worried about what these relief programs mean for people once they expire. But let's see what happens, everybody. That's why I believe Congress should pass another stimulus relief package very soon. It is completely necessary as the crisis just continues to negatively impact the country. Lawmakers cannot ignore the fact that prices are rising like crazy. Millions of Americans are beginning to no longer be able to afford the same food.
Well, we can put forth Social Security for our children. This will make a tremendous